We are privileged to have with us today Dr. Chaitanya Shembekar sir. Sir is the chair for the Infertility Committee of AMOGS. He is the chairman and managing director of Omega Hospitals in Nagpur, past president of the Nagpur OBGYN Society, executive member of Maharashtra chapter of ISAR, where he has recently been elected as the librarian of ISAR of the Maharashtra chapter of ISAR. I don't see that updated in his CV, so maybe he'll need to update it. This looks like an old CV. He's also a member of the Infertility, Endocrinology, and Endoscopy Committee of FOXY. He worked with me when I was the FOXY chairperson, recipient of the Kamini Rao Yuva FOXY Oration Award, gold medal in MBBS, Mukund Shastri Gold Medal, Kandwala Best Paper, orations and talks in more than 50 societies, several publications, and he's a guide and mentor for MUHS and ICOG postgraduate fellowships at Omega Hospital, member also of the PCPNDT Committee of Nagpur. And sir is here to speak to us about the best practices in instrumentation, which I will say is an allied subject to what Dr. Ame Purandare just spoke about. So it's perfect that both these talks go hand in hand and one after the other. Over to Dr. Chaitanya Shembekar, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Pratik. I'll start my screen sharing. Thank you for a nice introduction. Instrumentation best practices is the topic I'm supposed to discuss today under this Suraksha to AMOX activity. I bring greetings from Nagpur OBGYN Society and Omega Hospital Nagpur, along with my directors, Dr. Manisha Shembekar, Dr. Parul Sauchi, and Dr. Ashish Zararia. My special thanks to Dr. Nandita Paishetkar, Dr. Arun Nayak, and Dr. Pratik Tambe for giving me this opportunity. To improve is to change. To be perfect is to change often. Infertility Committee of AMOGS, under the leadership of Dr. Nandita Paishetkar, we came with Change, which is actually a book on changing practices during COVID era. And we came with this booklet as early as April last year, and it was actually one of its kind book, and it is still referred by many clinicians and practitioners regarding the handling of corona issue and the medical practices. So we are proud to have this book, and you all can get this book. It is available. Uh, Office and OR are the two things which where we love to work. And in fact, ultrasound machine and laparoscopy are our eyes, and that is the reason why we are going to discuss today the cleaning and maintenance of USG machine and laparoscopic instruments during COVID era. Uh, if you just talk of the office, I think it is the place where there is a maximum footfall, and cleaning of office should be an ongoing process, and you should make it a habit and you should cultivate it, because ultrasound machine is something which is most frequently used by all our friends and gynecologists. So you have to take special care of USG machine. And this cleaning and organizing is actually a practice. It is not a project, and you should have an ongoing activity of cleaning. And even after COVID is over, you have to follow these new norms and new normal. Whatever we are discussing today would be based on the guidelines given by International Society of Ultrasound in OBGY, and of course the change which we have come with under the banner of AMOGS, Infertility Committee. So whenever we talk of ultrasound and office, the most important thing is appointment system, and we have to have a telephonic or online appointment instructions. And whenever the patient takes appointment, you have to instruct them regarding the use of mask, the shield, and personal care equipments, and they should come with only one attendant, or they, if possible, should come alone. So minimum attendance is something which is important. You have to respect the timing, and that is the reason why you should actually give them appointment, and you have to respect the time which is given or allotted to them. And you have to triage them on the front desk itself. If they have a fever, then you have to refer the patient to physician. And as far as the ultrasound is concerned, the appointment system or scheduling should be it depends on the type of ultrasound you are offering to the patient. If it's an anomaly scan, then maybe you have to give 1 hour period, and if it's a general scan, then 15 minutes is sufficient. Whenever the patient enters inside, he must be wearing double mask with N95, You have to tell them specifically that you have to use N95 mask. It is essential. Now, I think what is important is restricting the number of scans, because if you just look at the infertility scans, then you might call the patients every alternate day, especially in the if you are doing IVF. But what is important is restricting the number of scans. And for infertility practices, you can call them on day two and then can make call directly on the day of trigger, because so you can do at the most three scans, ideally two scans, because if you look at the latest 2019 guidelines for ovarian stimulation by X-ray, it also says that you can directly do the ultrasound on the day of trigger. So there is no need to, frequently call the patients, because it is not required at all. As far as the pregnancy is concerned, what is important is NT scan and of course anomaly scan, and then you may have a interval scan and a 36-week scan. So restricting the number of scan is something which we should and we can do. Now, this is something which is important, that whenever we patient comes to you for ultrasound, we always take PCP entity consents and we are used to that. But along with PCP entity consents, I think we must take the consents regarding the COVID infections. Like this is the consent, and I think you all can take a screenshot of this consent, where and a self declaration form where the patient is supposed to declare about their the details and about the possibility of the COVID infection or the history of COVID infection in the past. Then you must sanitize their hands, take the temperature, and take the patient inside along with maximum one attendant. As far as the staff is concerned, staff triage is something which is important, and you should have this in office, in OR, in the wards, as well as in IVF. You must have micro teams, which is beneficial because if at all there is a possibility of infection, then you can actually manage the things properly. You should allow only a single attendant or a person or a paramedical staff in a scan room, that too with PPE kit. And also, what is important is the periodic testing of staff is important. You should do COVID testing of all the staff every 15 days, so that if at all there is an infection, you can ask them to take a leave. Cleaning of office is something which Ame has already discussed. So you can use low level disinfectants like 1% hypochlorite and you do mopping. You do the cleaning of furnitures, railings, and knobs. But important for us is the cleaning of computers and ultrasound machines. And you must take special care as far as USG machines are concerned, because they are very costly and you cannot afford to, you know, have a problem with ultrasound machines, especially by using some of the materials which are not you are not supposed to use as far as cleaning of ultrasound is concerned. So you should be very careful while cleaning ultrasound machines, because I have seen many people damaging their mobile phones also because of the, they are obsessed with cleaning and they are frequently cleaning their mobile phones and they damage their mobile phones. This is what is happening nowadays. So you have to be careful about ultrasound machines. Now, before we start discussing about the cleaning, uh, something which we all should do, and I think we should do it regularly, is quick declutter. As far as ultrasound is concerned, there are many probes, and if you do not require so many probes, you should have minimum probes which are required for your day-to-day practice. Like if you have an abdominal scan and a transvaginal scan, then you can actually take out the other scans like the cardiac echo scan and other probes you can take out. So only minimum probe should be there, and you should keep minimum things in the office. So decluttering is something which you should make it as a habit. And you can actually use ultraviolet lights during non-working hours, and this is possible if you have a UV machine, something which we do in our IVF lab. We can start doing it in the OR and the of course in the office as well. You can put on the UV lights when you are not working, so that the infection or the possibility of coronavirus spread is minimized. Now the question is, can we use fabrics and linen? That is what we are used to, but you should avoid using this, because this is something which is the actually a source of infection, and it may spread the infection. So you should ask the patients to use tissue, give them tissue wipes, use disposable sheets, and use gloves. And you should dispose properly all these things after each scan is done, so that the infection is not spreading. Machine cleaning is something which is extremely important, and you have to do it in the morning and evening. And not only that, you should do it after each scan. You can use 0.05 to 0.2% benzalkonium chloride or 0.02% chlorhexidine for cleaning the machines, or 70% alcohol or dilute Sidex or Protex wipes can be used. You can also use USEF for the probes, the thing which we are using in IVF labs. The preparation and cleaning of transducer is something important because transducer or the probe is the thing which is most frequently used, and this is directly in contact with the patients. Therefore, you have to take extra care and precaution while cleaning the transducers. So the preparation of ultrasound transducer consists of cleaning and disinfection. So before disinfecting, you must clean them. Any product which is used for cleaning and disinfection should be compatible with the ultrasound machine as determined by the ultrasound equipment manufacturer. So you must see to it that the manufacturer is allowing this the product to use for cleaning of the ultrasound machine, because certain products, as I've already told you, may damage the machine or transducer, and it may invalidate the warranties, and that is something which we don't want to do. Cleaning is an important first step since any remaining gel can act as a barrier to the disinfectant, thus diminishing its efficacy. So the gel is something which is always seen on the probes, and you must see to it that the gels are properly cleaned, and then you should clean the transducers and the probes. So ineffective cleaning prior to disinfection could limit the effectiveness of the chemical disinfection. So the latest guidelines for cleaning of transvaginal transducer says that you should use running water to remove any residual gel or debris from the probe before cleaning thoroughly the transducer using a damp gauze pad or a soft cloth or a small amount of mild non-abrasive liquid soap. So you must use running water and clean the probe, especially the transvaginal probe, properly, and then disinfect it. You can use small brush, particularly for the crevices and areas of angulation, and then subsequently use the running tap water. These are the various disinfectants which are used. You can take a screenshot of this because this is again a busy slide. But then you should know that there are some chemical weight disinfection things which are available, like 2.4 to 3.2% glutaraldehyde products like Sidex or Proceed, or something like Sidex OPA or Tristal Duo or Antisapril Blue. All these the products are available in the market. You can use them for wet disinfection. And automated high-level disinfection includes Antigermix, Astra VR, and Trophon. All these things can be used for disinfection. Now, it is said that COVID is in air, and the question here is, shall we and can we work without ACs? I think it is not possible. It is not possible in Nagpur, it is impossible, but it is not possible even in humid conditions in Mumbai or other places. So, what you need is you need to have a spacious office, and you need to have ultraviolet system, which I have already discussed. AHU is something which is too costly. It is okay for OR, but then for office, you may not have AHU. But what is important is you should have a vent open mode of AC so that the air is circulated. Now we go to the next thing, and that is OR. OR is something where we routinely do laparoscopic surgeries because gynecologists cannot work without laparoscopy. Laparoscopy is something which is frequently done by most of the gynecologists. It is said that he who wishes to be a surgeon should go to war. And going to war nowadays is like going to war, because you are a COVID warrior, and ultimately you are exposing yourself to so much of infection that you have to be extremely careful. Now, laparoscopy, as I told you, is an integral part of the gynec practice, and you cannot think of life without laparoscopy. It is not possible. Laparoscopy is my first love, and I always enjoy doing laparoscopic surgeries. But these laparoscopic surgeries are most risky for anesthesiologists, for the surgeons, as well as for the staff. The anesthesiologist is at the head end, and therefore he or she is most vulnerable for the infection, and risk is very high. Especially during this COVID era, you have to be extremely careful, because while doing laparoscopy, many of the surgeons, they do many procedures under GA. Of course, you can change your practice and start doing more and more procedures under spinal or epidural anesthesia, so that the chances of exposure are less. CO2 is something which is used for pneumoperitoneum, which is again a source of spread. And the surgeries are often prolonged, especially when we are doing when we are doing TLH, total laparoscopic hysterectomies, or we are doing some cancer surgeries. They are prolonged surgeries, and it takes a lot of time, and therefore the exposure is more. So before taking the patient for surgery, you must do the testing of the patient 48 to 72 hours before surgery. And if the patient has symptoms, then you should postpone the surgery, because laparoscopy is mostly not an emergency procedure except for ectopic pregnancies. Then again, you have to do staff triage, and you should have micro teams in the OT as well. And you should consider every patient as COVID positive patient. I remember 20 years back when HIV was something which was rampant, and very often we used to get HIV patients. We used to say that universal safety precautions are important. Similarly, in COVID, you must have universal safety precautions and consider every patient as a COVID positive patient. So, and all surgeries must be considered high risk, as asymptomatic patients might be carriers of the virus, and that is something which is more dangerous rather than treating the patients who are COVID patients. The surgery of a non-COVID patient who may be a asymptomatic carrier is more dangerous and risky. So you must do preoperative testing, and during laparoscopic surgery, steps must be taken to reduce the CO2 release. So minimize the use of ultrasound and diathermy if possible whenever you're doing surgery. But sometimes it is impossible to work without diathermy. Minimize sudden gas dispersal during total laparoscopic hysterectomy, especially when the specimen is removed from the vagina. You should deflate the abdomen first with a suction device before removal of the uterus through the vagina, something which is extremely important, because suddenly the CO2 will disseminate, and this may lead to the spread of infection. Close the taps of the ports before inserting them into so that you avoid the escape of gas. Attach a CO2 filter to one of the ports for smoke evacuation if it is required, and reduce frequent introduction and removal of instruments through the ports. We have, that habit of, removing the instruments and again putting them frequently. You should avoid this, because this is something which is again going to increase the exposure. If you have a if you're doing ectopic pregnancy, or maybe if you're doing removing a fibroid or a dermoid or a cyst, the specimen retrieval is something which is important. You should deflate the abdomen first with suction device before removing the specimen back from the abdomen. Reinsert the probe port before turning CO2 on again. And at the end of the procedure, turn CO2 off. Deflate the abdomen with a suction device and via the port with CO2 filter before removal of the ports. Last but not the least is you should continue doing proper cleaning of instruments, which you have been doing since so many years. We always see to it that the instruments are cleaned properly. We always use running tap water to clean the instruments. We actually dismantle all the instruments, then keep them properly. Use some special products for cleaning the instruments. May use uh, uh, ultrasound, or may use autoclave machines. So whatever method you are using, the cleaning should be perfect and properly done. So since we all are sitting at home at the comfort of our home, I'll give you a at home message. Ultrasound and laparoscopy is an integral part of our practice. Proper cleaning and precautions of instruments is must during COVID era, and not only during COVID era, even beyond this. Because we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act but a habit. So I hope this is the last webinar in this Suraksha series. This is season 2 of Suraksha and episode 3 of season 2. But I hope this is the last season, and we don't have to, discuss COVID again, because though we are anticipating third wave, I hope that third wave is not as severe as that of a second wave. But we have to live with this new normal. This is something which is new normal, and COVID may go, will go, but something new might come. So you have to be prepared for this. And I remember this song from Fir Savera Hoga, very nice song which I would like you all to listen. वो सुबह कभी तो आएगी.
वो सुबह कभी तो आएगी, वो सुबह कभी तो आएगी। इन काली सदियों के सर से जब रात का आंचल ढलकेगा, जब दुख के बादल पिघलेंगे, जब सुख का सागर छलकेगा।
वो सुबह कभी तो आएगी, और जरूर आएगी. With this, I end my talk, and thank you very much, Lupin. Thank you, Amox. Thank you, Dr. Nandita Pashetkar. Um, Thank you, Pratik. for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much. And I wish happy birthday to Dr. Professor Narendra Malhotra sir on this occasion. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chaitanya Shembekar. It's lovely
Thank
to
you,
have
thank
you
you.
with us. Good evening, sir, Dr. Narendra Malhotra. Good evening, Dr. Rishikesh Pai, sir. It's lovely to have the doyens of Indian OB/GYN all in one frame with juniors like us. It's amazing to have two legendary inspirations in the same frame. So thank you, Dr. Chaitanya Shembekar. There is one comment from the audience regarding the consent form. They are requesting if you could share it, and maybe I
Yeah,
would suggest that if you can share the PDF of the consent form, that will probably be a little more useful
I'll
to the
do that.
audience,
And yes,
and the
sure,
Lupin
I'll do
team
that.
can convey it to the audience later on. Thank you so much. We'll proceed with the next